Hey everyone, Mark and Joey back here on a Thursday morning in Toronto. So if you haven't watched the show before, we're from Toronto. So looking at the NBA tonight, the excitement in this city is absolutely insane. I've been watching the morning shows here. They're already filling up Jurassic Park. And if it's the first time you've watched a Raptors game, Jurassic Park is an outdoor area near the stadium that actually has as many people in it as the stadium does.
Well, yeah, now they're opening up 5 other locations. You got Burlington, Mississauga, all these cities around us, Brampton, Oakville. So that's how big this is to us, is that all these other cities are opening up viewing areas at a location so people in these cities can watch the game. And it's so popular that even Vancouver, which if you know anything about Canada, it's cross-country for us, they've opened up a section for viewing so they can watch the Raptors game and cheer them on. So it's just a historic day for us. It's going to be the biggest moment in our history for sports. They've had other great moments, but they've been a while back now. And at a time...
92, 93.
Yeah, 92, and that was baseball. That was not basketball. So this is really cool. We're real excited tonight. Like I said, the game starts at 9. Parties are going to get going at 6 or 7. I can guarantee that. And really, I think it's also with the belief that us as fans actually believe we have a chance. I think our players have given us that belief. You don't hear many people obviously just giving up on the fact that we are facing the two-time world champs. But it's going to be such a fun night. We're excited to watch it, and hopefully a great game. All we can ask for these two teams, especially Toronto, because you know Golden State's going to give you a good series, is please make it a good series. Please make it 6 or 7 games. Whether you win or lose, at least that's respectable against obviously a juggernaut like Golden State. But big game tonight, game 1, a chance to maybe take the early series lead.
Yeah, and I think around here, it doesn't happen in every city, but certainly in Canada here, because a lot of the people in the States don't get to travel to Canada, don't know much about it. This is a huge boon for tourism in Toronto as well. That people are talking about the city, people are coming to the city to see the games. It's on everywhere. It's the talk even of all the sports talk shows about Toronto and what the city, how great the city is. It's we get this little bit of almost fun about the border, but the city itself is getting nothing but praise from every single sportscaster that's in town.
Oh man!
Through all the playoffs, obviously with the Warriors being here, even more prevalent with all the Kawhi talk. This has been unbelievable for Toronto as a city, which is already one of the biggest cities in all of North America, but unrecognized by a lot of people from the United States because they just don't get into Canada much.
Yeah, like I said, they've repped restaurants. They've taken pictures with Kawhi murals. They're traveling around. They're buying Raptors jerseys. They think it's like part of like the tourism now is being part of these Raptors. It's kind of what we talked about with the Vegas Golden Knights. Like people buy jerseys thinking, well, this is part of the deal when I'm here. It's that buying a Vegas Golden Knights jersey. Toronto has become huge right now in Toronto, and like you said, it's been promoting Toronto, the city, the restaurants, how great it is. You're right. Everyone's giving it high praise. All the sportscasters, all the players, they love our downtown. They think our fans are hilarious. Like Golden State was talking about how there's thousands of people waiting for them to leave their hotel. And even though they were booing, they're so nice because they're Canadian. They let them walk to the arena and don't throw anything at them. And it's just been, everyone's talked about it. And like I said, players, coaches, sportscasters, there's nothing better than having your first time be like the NBA Finals where like everyone gets exposed to it. That's why it's so important to have good sports teams. We always think of winning trophies, but to the city, it just provides so much value. So it's real good for everybody. And hopefully they can just make it worth it on the court.
Yeah, and so for those of you who are visiting Toronto or going to be watching the games, welcome to Toronto as well as to the NBA Finals. Quite different first time for a Canadian team to ever be in the NBA Finals, even though we've been there with the Blue Jays. And, of course, baseball is a national sport as well. No one has seen our Toronto Maple Leafs in the hockey Stanley Cup Series, unfortunately. But we are here in basketball. We're glad to welcome everybody to the city. I think it's going to be fantastic. But, let's get to the nuts and bolts of the whole thing, which is the series.
Yeah.
About playing the game. Who's going to win tonight? That's what we're here to look at, and who's going to win in the series. I'm going to start off because I picked Golden State. Wow, surprise, right from the very beginning. I picked Toronto not such a wow that they would be here. So I have picked the NBA final. Like I say, one half of that was very easy. The other half, we were confident in here in Toronto, but certainly almost in every series,
A lot of doubters.
There was a lot of doubters in there. So I'm happy to have both the teams there. Still think Warriors are going to win the World Championship. They just have too many stars. But I am different than most Warriors fans. I believe if Kevin Durant comes back, they're in trouble. So I'm hoping from a Toronto standpoint that he comes back because he hogs the ball. He is a single superstar. And without him, this team is a team. With him, they are Kevin Durant and the rest. Even Curry gets set to the sidelines when Kevin Durant is playing. It's shocking. Every sports show we listen to every single day is all about Durant coming back. I cannot believe it. This team was like 31-1 without him. They swept through 6 games without him in playoffs, and yet everybody talks about will Kevin Durant be back? And if he is back, that means the Raptors have no chance. I think it's the exact opposite. I'm hoping for him to come back. I think he'll be, well, of course he'll be rusty, but on top of that, the focus goes to him. It goes off the rest of the team, and I don't think they'll play as well. So I may change my forecast if Kevin Durant comes back. Most people are the opposite. They're just wishing and hoping. I think the Warriors will beat the Raptors in 5 if he doesn't come back. I think the Raptors could win the series. He does come back because they're going to throw off the whole chemistry of the Warriors team. And tonight is a Warriors victory easily. The Raptors have been horrible in opening games. It's just been an unfortunate trademark for them, but they've come back in every one of those series. So maybe have Warriors win tonight's not such a bad thing.
Do you think 1-1 leaving home?
I don't know. I just think Warriors are so tough. I think unfortunately the excitement in the city, the attention to the team, I think has taken their mind off getting ready for the game tonight. So they've started each series bad. They're 1-3. 1 out of 3 in first round victories. I think in the other years they've been playoffs. They're always first round. They've got a majority of losses, or first game of a round. Sorry, they've got a majority of losses. I don't see that changing tonight. I think where the fans are talking about how great it is, how everybody's talking about to have this support. I think this support takes kind of the center off the game, which is not a good thing for a basketball team. So I'm thinking that'll be a problem for this series. But I think the one chance is for Durant to come back. I think that'll throw off Golden State, and I think that would be a good opportunity for Toronto.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it a little bit differently. Obviously, I think Toronto does have a legitimate chance. First off, I'd say this. Most sportscasters are saying you're not seeing Durant during this whole series. They're just not telling you yet, but they saw him apparently hobbling off the plane and almost needing crutches. So if you believe what insiders say, what Golden State's not wanting to just put out there right now is that Durant ain't going to be seen in this series. So, yeah, but I'm going to do something different here and go through a bit of a story. Colin Cowherd did it for me, and shout out to him because he's looking objectively. The Dallas Mavericks, when they played LeBron James and the Miami Heat a while back, I don't know if people remember this series, and it got Dallas Mavericks their first ever world championship. And he was looking into how the team was sort of built similarly to the Raptors, and how really LeBron James' team was exactly the same as Golden State. Going for 3 in a row, it got to the point where Miami had lost a lot of its bench. It was really down to their starting lineup, and at the end of the day, Dallas had the guys to slow them down, to bring them down to their own level, because Toronto's not going to score 120 points. If you're going to beat Golden State, you have to do the impossible, which is keep them at 100, maybe 105, but you're not outscoring them, so that's what Toronto has to do. So he's going through the Dallas Mavericks. You had Dirk Nowitzki, and then you had a bunch of smattering of veterans and a few young guys mixed into the mix. You had to have a full team play a great series, which means starters and bench, and then you had a coach similar to Nick Nurse coaching that team. And they got it done against Miami, who was going for 3 in a row, who was really led through their 3 big stars, but without them, didn't have depth. And it's very similar. Golden State does not have depth. They're not getting the home game, first of all, too, which no one's talked about. This is the first time the home game will be played, obviously in Canada, but outside Golden State since 2014. That might be something new to them. They say that it's already weird dealing with our fans, kind of just all over the place every time they walk somewhere. But I'm looking at it this way. Golden State has lost the depth they've had the last 3 years. They have not faced a good defense the last 5 years in the NBA Finals. What they have faced is another equal juggernaut offense. So it's really a mystery of how this is going to play out. Really, can a defense win championships? What you got to ask, or is an offense going to win championships? And when it comes down to it, I feel like a defense can steal games right now. The way Toronto kind of slowed down Milwaukee, they'll have to do the same against Golden State. Milwaukee scored the most points in the regular season. They scored 115 points a game. They had the big gaps. They had the biggest blowout wins. Toronto slowed that down. Will they be able to do it against Golden State? That's the only way you're going to win. If you think you're going to outscore Golden State, you're in dreamland. You're going to lose.
There's no doubt about that. I agree.
If you give up 110 points, you will lose every single game. You have to do what you did with Milwaukee. They kept Milwaukee under 100 in every single win besides a double overtime game. That's what you got to do against Golden State. Can you do it is the question. There's a lot of people that believe you can do it. I believe you can do it. I believe there's matchups available for Toronto. Your guys are going to have to play heavy minutes. But at the end of the day, the only way you beat Golden State, and this is no mystery, and I'm not, really out of the box here, but your bench has to step up because at the end of the day, their stars are going to do what they do. Your stars are going to do what you do. And you got to get your bench to outscore their bench when they rest their players. And if they don't rest Curry, which Steve Kerr has played Curry 45 minutes in games before, you cannot sit Kawhi Leonard or Danny Green or whoever you have guarding him. They have to play the full game. They have to be willing to do that. I think it's the time of year anything goes. You worry about injuries in the offseason. Lowry said that in his interview because he has a broken thumb right now. He said he's had a broken thumb for about 2 months. He goes, you ain't pulling me out of this game. That's the Warrior mentality you need. I think the Raptors have that mentality. I think they have the matchups. Are they going to win the series? I don't know, but are they going to make it a long series? Are they going to make it close? I think so. I think give them the respect of 6 or 7 games for sure. And let's just say this. I want Toronto to win. I hope they win, so I might as well take them just in case they do win and I'm right. I think the potential there is for sure. And the ability to win 3 in a row, like someone said, no matter how great you are, that's a lot of basketball in a short period of time.
Yeah.
It's a long road. And, guess what? You got to get dirty. And that's something that an old-time player said. All these Charles Barkleys and Shaqs and Metta World Peace said, you can talk about this and that. If you can get bumping Curry a little bit earlier, you get bumping Klay Thompson early, that might really be the toll that Golden State needs to face in order for you to beat them. So I think it's going to be, though, a great series, not a short one, and I'm just looking for a lot of fun. As far as Game 1 goes, I don't know. I think they're underestimating Golden State in the rest situation, although a lot of players say there's nothing like shooting it for the first time with hands in your face and willing to bump you, which no matter how many times you tell your coach, come up on me, put your hand in my face, he ain't doing it like a defender of another team. So I think Toronto's a good chance tonight and could definitely be what is necessary if you ever want to compete against Golden State. It's going to have 1-0. They have not been down 1-0 in any of these series.
Well, I think, there's some first there you're talking about. I do agree 100% on the defense. It's going to be interesting to see whether they can take Golden State off their game. They certainly did in Milwaukee, as you say.
Yeah.
I think Golden State's at another level, but I think that, there is time, as you and I do often, even in our wagering, we wager against streaks. They're bound to end. That's just the way streaks go. Something can happen to make that occur. They do have the opportunity. I think I would give the Raptors the advantage with a win tonight. I'm assuming Golden State win tonight because the Raptors have not been great out of the gate, but I do think that they could put them back on their heels a little bit by winning Game 1. So I would give the Raptors a way bigger chance if they can get ahead Game 1 today and win that game. I would maybe even have a different opinion tomorrow. I expect Golden State to win tonight. To being logically, I'll be cheering for the Raptors. That's besides what I'm saying here today. But I think that there's a good opportunity that if Toronto can pull out tonight's game, that could change the series. It would put them in a different position they've been in. It would also put Golden State back on their heels a little bit and maybe, get them thinking a little bit nervously, like you say. They don't face this very often where they're behind in the series.
And Golden State's going to face drama throughout this whole series about Kevin Durant. Because if you win, they're going to talk to Steph. Hey, Steph, are you happy this is happening because you're the best player? And then if they lose, they're going to be like, do you need Durant? So they're going to face a lot of drama.
So a loss tonight could really make a difference.
Yeah, people don't know the drama that they'll face. Whether they win or lose, they're going to get Kevin Durant questions for some reason because people are so obsessed with this guy.
Yeah.
And Kevin Durant's been in the Twitters and the Instagrams commenting that they're not better without him. And they've had to answer a gazillion questions about whether they are or whether they aren't. If Toronto wins, might be the best thing too, because like you said, you get all those questions to Steph and to Klay. Oh, Steph, well, do you need him? Like, blah, blah, blah. And then if he plays and Toronto beats him, then it's like maybe Durant shouldn't be playing. And then if you beat him without Durant, it's like, do you really need Durant? Do you want him to come back? Should he sit? So they're going to face drama, and they're going to face media more than Toronto, because really when it comes down to it, when you're a team that really has we had expectations, but the media had no expectations for you. Or, especially in this series, a lot of people said you could get to this point, but once you got to this point, they all thought you'd lose to Golden State. You really have no media pressure besides your own. You have no pressure from your city or your fans because we're so thrilled to be here. And really, when it comes down to it, Golden State has everything to lose. Everything to lose. So you're playing with house money here. You're playing the fact they're dealing with drama. They got drama queens on their team. They got the media wanting it, and they want to bring them down. You got to remember this. No one's talked about this. They're like the New England Patriots. People want to bring the greatest teams, these dynasties down. Everyone in the States, the only one city in the States apparently, or two.
California.
No, not even California. Just simply Golden State, Oakland, and Hawaii are the only teams, cities that have voted saying they're voting for, cheering for Golden State. Every other city across America says they're cheering for Toronto. So they want to bring this team down. Toronto, if you can get game one, people are going to jump on your side, join this bandwagon. Stars are already on this bandwagon. They want to see it happen. And I think it's definitely doable. I like the matchups. You know what? You're not dealing with a powerhouse team down low. And honestly, Jalen Rose was on First Take saying he believes Steve Kerr might have to make matchups to actually compete with Toronto, as Toronto can be way bigger than Golden State if he wants to. Those big guys will have to be fast. And that's what Golden State lives on, is your big guys can't be out there because we're too fast. Marcus Gasol can move. Serge Ibaka can move. They faced Golden State before. We have 4 players that have faced Golden State before. It'll be interesting to see matchups and to see if Steve Kerr actually might have to do some coaching and change his rotation and actually match up guys against our guys, because we can certainly play big if we want to, if we feel like they're fast enough to keep up with Golden State.
That's an interesting discussion too, is that, does he have to coach for the first time? I mean, I don't want to put the guy down at all, but I mean, he's coaching just multi-millionaire all-stars at every position virtually. Does he have to coach? So to your point, if we can get him to where he has to coach, if we can take the lead at some points of the game, if we can be close and force his hand, maybe the coaching is not there for that team.
Yeah, and so that's what Jalen Rose was saying, is that, I mean, there's a talent in coaching superstars. Yeah. Phil Jackson had it when he coached the Bulls. That is a talent of its own that people don't understand, is that coaching superstars is very, very difficult.
Yeah,
he's been
able
he's been able to make it work. Part of it is because maybe like Michael Jordan, who I think was probably pretty quiet. Steph Curry's super quiet. So you don't have to deal with Steph, which really would have been your big guy. If Steph was a Kobe or LeBron and was an outgoing opinionator, that would be way harder, because then you'd have 2 Durants virtually. But you got lucky with Steph, but still, managing those guys and understanding Steph. Steph could have been behind the scenes going, hey man, what's this crap? I'm not getting any credit here. Klay Thompson missed the All-NBA team simply because he's the 3rd best player on that team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's really a top 10 player in the league right now. So he's dealt with egos, but this would be a new situation. There'd be pure coaching and matchups. Jalen Rose was saying he likes Danny Green on Steph Curry because Danny Green's a big shutdown defender. You put Kawhi on Andre Iguodala. I think he had Lowry on Draymond Green, on Klay Thompson. He had Serge Ibaka on Draymond Green. And then that 5th spot is where he thought Toronto could draw an advantage. You put Marcus Gasol out there, which forces Steve Kerr, if he believes that's a big deal, to put another big out there, which he normally does not want to do. And you put another big out there, it could be Andre Bogut or Looney, and that gives Toronto such an upper hand. So when it comes down to it, this could be decided by our 2 big men, Serge Ibaka and Marcus Gasol, if they could have a breakout series. Watch out, that could be the difference maker. And I heard it yesterday on TV by Jalen Rose. He says he believes Steve Kerr will have to play matchups if Toronto wants to go big, and that's something Golden State does not do very often. And it clicked in my head. I think he's right. That could be a huge advantage, and that's why I think it's important. Can Serge Ibaka, can Marcus Gasol have big series, force Golden State to take out their little guy shooters that run around the floor like maniacs and make these amazing threes that get Steph open and Klay open? That could be the difference maker in this series.
Well, you're right about Gasol.
It will be interesting, and regardless,
he's had good games and horrible games from the 3-point line. If he can, get in there. I mean, the one game in Milwaukee was 4 for 9 early, And that really, those 12 points are huge. It also starts to now put the coach has to think about Gasol out there. He has to start putting someone on him instead of just leaving him alone, which Milwaukee did in that one game because he was 0 for 9 the game before that. So it's going to be key for him to step up early on and be scoring. I think scoring is going to change the game a little bit. I think that's a possibility. It really comes down to me. Toronto has to win game 1 to win the series, in my mind. If we need Durant to come back, which I don't think is going to happen because I think he'd mess up the team. But even the talk about him, as you say, if we can get game 1, they're going to start talking about this team needing Durant, and that's going to just make it all ugly to be around the Warriors. So
3 reasons why winning game 1 would throw Warriors off. 1, they've never been down 1-0. 2, the media is going to hype on the fact they've never been down 1-0. Yeah. They've already played their first road game in the NBA Finals ever since this dynasty got really, really good. So out of all their finals, the first time they start on the road. If they lost, that'd be first time they're down 0-1. If they lost it, they'd be without Kevin Durant. And the list goes on and on the questions media would have for Golden State. Guess what the question would be about if Toronto won game 1? Well, you're already going to go 1-1 and going back to Golden State. Congratulations. Good for you. And you got game 1 and the city's hopping and you might win game 2 because of that. And that's what Jalen Rose was saying. You win game 1, all of a sudden, game 2 is very, very likely. And you could be up 2-0 going to Golden State. And let's remember this. And not many people have mentioned it. A few have mentioned it. We won both regular season games against Golden State. One where they didn't have Curry and we had Kawhi. But one where they had everybody and we didn't have Kawhi. Toronto can get it done. They found a way.
But it's also what shows, this is why my point about Durant worries me, is, in the one game, he put up 51 points. So that, this morning, that's all they could talk about. But they lost that game.
Yeah.
Because the guy is a ball hog, and the rest of the team doesn't get engaged. Yeah. So even though he scored 51, and that's all anybody could talk about, him getting back in the series, he scored 51 against us, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't say, and they lost.
Yeah. I totally agree.
This is why Durant is a problem in my mind. And as a Toronto fan, I want him back, and I think they can win. As a person analyzing the series, I think Golden State should win. It's obvious they should win, but tonight could change that pattern.
They have never faced a defense like this before, and really at the end of the day, the defense needs to play 110%.
Yeah,
but if they do, the simple one-on-one matchups that you can put on paper have never faced Golden State ever with these Cleveland teams and Miami teams LeBron had. They were all skill-based, just like Golden State is skill-based. And amazing offense. Don't get me wrong. Amazing offense. It's going to take a huge task to slow them down. But they have never, ever had these one-on-one matchups they're going to face against Toronto. They have never had Steph had to deal with such tough defenders. When you do pick and rolls, you do switches, you just get another great defender on Toronto. And then you put Gasol in the paint or Serge Ibaka. It's just Toronto's big, they're fast, and they have great defenders. If Toronto can defend great, that means they can slow the game down. They will not allow Golden State to reach 110, which they do almost all the time. And that is how you beat them. It's something Golden State's never faced before. And the element of surprise has been used many, many times in order to win sporting events and to do many other things. That's the one thing Toronto has on its side. That's the one thing people talk about. That's the one thing Toronto's going to need. And it's the only way you beat Golden State, because you are not putting up enough threes to contend with the greatness of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So there's potential. It's a big task, but hey, it's the NBA Finals. Give it your all, and you never know. Get game 1. Let's do that tonight, and it could be a whole different story going forward.
And I will say that I hope and I believe, because there's going to be so much attention on Kawhi, that we have the potential, if the Raptors can win, because that's where the MVP always comes from, as the winning team. But we might see Lowry pick up the MVP. I think he's going to be left alone enough that, because the shooting comes and goes depending on how the game is going, but he can put up points. And I think if they're focused on Kawhi, I think we could see Lowry have a series that he used to have when Kawhi wasn't the number one guy. And I think he could be an MVP candidate in this series if the Raptors win. You have to win to get that. So if they win, I think we got a shot at Lowry being that guy, and it would be so fantastic for the city. Leonard's getting enough as it is, and Kawhi's been the guy, and Lowry's been the guy from the beginning, and he can put up points. He doesn't shoot as much when Leonard's hot. He gives the ball to Leonard, but he can shoot a lot and make a lot of points.
Steph Curry's stats in the finals are pretty bad. And in fact, the one time they won one without, when they didn't have Durant, they won one, they lost one. He wasn't the MVP in either one. First of all, the one they lost, they don't get the MVP. But when they got the MVP, it was Andre Iguodala. Steph Curry's stats are pretty bad in the finals. He passes the ball more. So that's why people are believing there's a chance for Toronto here. But you're right. The MVP, you can't win in the MVP, be your star. I don't believe that in the NBA Finals. Like, you're right. It cannot be Kawhi because Kawhi will have too much on him to win the MVP unless they look at defense because he might put on an unbelievable performance on defense.
Well, it's rarely a defensive guy.
It's rarely a defensive guy. So you're right. Who's going to be the unsung hero for either of these teams? They're talking about is Steph or Kawhi the MVP. The tough part in a series like this, they'll both be in so much trouble. I don't think it could be them. But in my mind, your two MVPs are this. One, Klay Thompson on Golden State's your MVP if they win, because in my mind, he's going to have a great series. Yeah. And you're right. The guy who will be MVP, I believe there's a few of them because I believe Lowry's game is so spread out and so balanced. I don't know if he'll ever do enough, specifically scoring-wise, to get the notice of MVP. I think it could be this. Pascal Siakam, man, get your shot going, please. Him or Danny Green, if they put up a bunch of threes to match Golden State.
You were hoping and wishing, though. They have been horrible shooting-wise.
No, but you talk about who's going to get the chances. You got Klay and Steph. Well, you got Lowry and Leonard. Typically, it could go to a third person, right?
Yeah.
It could go to a third person. In fact, a lot of times it might have to go to Marcus Saul. If he all of a sudden goes 5 for 10 from 3, he's playing like a beast on the defensive end. He goes to the free throw line a lot. He's getting all these rebounds. That could be an MVP.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's tough when your top 2 guys or even top 3 guys. It's tough for one of them to get the MVP when typically the team you're facing should have 3 guys to match up.
Yeah.
So it's usually an unknown. Andre Iguodala, like I said, won it the year without Durant. Durant won it the last 2 years, but the year without Durant, when Golden State won, it was Andre Iguodala. What is he? He's a third guy. He's a fourth guy. He's a defensive juggernaut. He drained a bunch of threes, had a historic run in threes, and had a great defensive end. It's one of those guys you won't expect unless all dreams come true and Kawhi Leonard puts up a Michael Jordan type series, a Kevin Durant type series, which would make the crowd, the league, Toronto go nuts. And if he won the MVP and we won the title, all that together would probably be enough to keep him to. Might be what's necessary for the whole thing would be something like that because they want him. The NBA wants him to have a juggernaut series.
The only thing with Kawhi that's tough in a series like this is he's so defensive oriented that I think it's going to be hard because he knows how important defense is against his team. Obviously, he can put up 40 points. We've seen him do it. He can do that whenever he can play that kind of game. I think there's too much defense required in this series for Kawhi to actually be an offensive juggernaut. I think you're going to see what happened in the last game. He had 17 rebounds, and assists and all this kind of stuff. He's going to have to play on the defensive boards and make. But he was given the MVP.
He was given the MVP when San Antonio won for defense, not even for offense. He simply got it because everyone pointed out the fact that LeBron James could not score against Kawhi Leonard. So they give it to defensive guys. They recognize defensive greatness. They recognize guys with a specific skill that might be so much that stops the other team. So it could be Kawhi. It could be Lowry. On Golden State, it could be many guys. All these players are obviously great players who are there for... It could be Fred VanVleet. Because guess what? He's been shooting insane from 3. 7 for 9 against Milwaukee in Game 5. He was, I think, 5 of 6 in Game 6. If he goes again off, people will notice that. That has to happen in order to stay with... That's why I said Danny Green. Danny Green had the most points in the NBA Finals when San Antonio went there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that. Had the most points. If Danny Green gets hot from 3, and you're going to need to make threes if you want to contend with Golden State, how is that not an MVP performance? There's going to be something that sticks out, but I can tell you one thing. Who does the NBA want to give it to? If Toronto wins, they want to give it to Kawhi Leonard.
For sure, yeah.
If Golden State wins, they want to give it to Steph. Period. End of story. That's what they're looking for. But don't miss all these guys doing 1 or 2 amazing things that are going to contribute to either one of these teams winning these series, especially Toronto, because they're going to need those guys to do their magical thing, the thing that they have, the skill set that they're brought in to do, the one thing that they're required to do. And then our top 2 guys, Lowry and Kawhi Leonard, are supposed to do 3 or 4 things, and that's how you're going to win this series. So no matter what, if Toronto wins, they'll be deserving of it. The MVP will be deserving of his trophy, but they want to give it to Kawhi Leonard, and it's going to be something else if we can even get going in this series, get up 1-0, make it to Game 7, something like that. It would be historic for us.
Well, for my pick, it's tonight's everything. If Toronto can win the game, like I say, it might be changing my pick right now. I think it's the Warriors, but if Toronto can get up by 1, it could change the whole.
I'm going to tell you what.
perspective.
I'm officially going with Toronto in the series. I've convinced myself.
Yeah, you and everybody in Toronto. So anyway, we're gonna leave it at that. We're looking forward to a very exciting game tonight. Watch the early shows. The excitement around the city is insane.
Man, yeah.
The amount of people that are out on the streets cheering for the Raptors has been crazy. It's going to be way bigger tonight. So many
If
cities
you own
have
a
stepped up.
company, I don't think your workers are going to be very good tomorrow.
Yeah, no kidding about that. Yeah, and a lot of taking today off. They actually showed one guy phoning in sick from Jurassic Park just right on TV. It was hilarious. So obviously he must be valuable to his company. That's a pretty risky move, but that's how serious the fans are here. So it's going to be amazing. Enjoy the game. We'll be back tomorrow to recap the game and look to the future of the series when we see what happens in Game 1.
Yep.